Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about my Uplift Active height adjustable portable aerial rig. In order for you to have an idea of space, I'm 5'3" and I'll be using an aerial hoop on the rig today. I'm going to be talking about cost, what the rig comes with, the limitations of the rig, including spatial limitations. So I'll be showing the rig at 8.5 feet and 10 feet with my Lyra rigged with 2 different lengths of Spanset at each of those heights. And then I'm going to talk about how the rig compares to the X-Pole rig, which is the rig it is most similar to. And then at the end I'm going to talk about why I ordered a Ludwig rig. As usual, I've already done my floor warm-ups, I've done my aerial conditioning exercises on my apparatus, and I've laid down my crash mats. Alright, let's get started. Jumping into how much it costs. Aerial rigs are not cheap, and 2 of the most affordable rigs on the market are Uplift Active's rig and X-Pole's rig. Uplift Active's rigs cost me, at the time I ordered it, around $700, and I also got the optional bags for transportation, and those cost $20 extra. So in total, $720 plus $100 of shipping. It is a 66-pound rig, so shipping does cost quite a bit. So the rig includes everything that you need to put the rig together. The top bar is stainless steel. It includes 4 telescopic legs, 12 tension steel D-pins, nylon stabilizing belts, 2 top bar connectors, which can also be removed, a hex key wrench, 2 leg connectors to attach the legs to the top bar, and the feet have silicone pads on them so they don't damage your floors. It optionally comes with 2 carrying bags so that you can easily transport your rig, and I'll get into those later. The rig can be used inside or outside, although they recommend not leaving it outside or covering it with a tarp if you are going to leave it outside, because it's not weatherproof and can corrode or rust. Here you can see the 2 bags that come with the rig if you choose to include them. The longer bag is about 5 feet tall. I don't know how comfortable it is when you're carrying around 70 pounds of metal. I would guess not very comfortable, just based off the fact that you just have 2 nylon straps in the middle. The bag is just held together by Velcro. You have these slots in the middle for the poles, which tuck up underneath the floppy covers. So this would just be for the legs and the top bar, and everything else would go in the smaller bag. I've been really disappointed in this bag. The zipper was essentially broken on arrival. It's very cheap zipper, which is the worst thing for a bag. There's no pockets or anything in this bag, it's just a plain nylon bag. The footprint of the rig varies based on how high you have it set, and they have a chart that you can look at, which I found to be pretty accurate, and I will link that in the description box below. One of the things that a lot of people want to know is if you can set it up and take it down yourself. I believe if you have a lot of space, you could do it yourself. It's definitely possible to bring up and down the legs by yourself. It's not too heavy for that. However, if you're in a limited space and you're tilting the rig, you have a greater likelihood of hitting something if you're doing it by yourself. So when I was setting it up, I did have help. Another option to do it by yourself is just to do 1 height adjustment at a time. So just go 1 hole up on each leg in a round robin kind of thing. It does take longer, but it's easier to do if you're setting up by yourself. So there are a few limitations that come with this rig. 1 is height, 2 is safety. The minimum braking strength is quite low for aerial use, which does cause limitations. And then just the space that you have for width is also quite small, so you might kick the bars if you're spinning. I will show what it looks like when I'm using a Lyra at 8.5 feet and 10 feet. So I have 2 Spansets. 1 is a meter and 1 is half a meter. So you can see they're pretty different lengths. common rigging setup that I've seen is to connect a carabiner to your figure 8, then a swivel, then another carabiner which connects to your spanset, and then you choke your spanset on your apparatus. This means that your spanset starts about a foot below the top of your rig. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about space. So like I mentioned, this rig has a low minimum braking strength at 1,550 pounds. For beginner and intermediate aerialists, a common way to figure out the working weight limit of your setup is to just take a 10-to-1 safety factor. So for this rig that's at 1,550 pounds, that would mean dividing it by 10. So all of your equipment and yourself altogether would have to weigh less than 155 pounds to have that 10-to-1 safety factor. I will link an article in the description below that I found helpful for calculating working weight limits. It's by Circus Concepts and they also make rigs, but I am not an expert, so you should absolutely do your own research. I would also recommend the Safety and Aerial Arts group on Facebook, which I will also link in the description below. But assuming you're just doing a 10-to-1 safety factor, 155 pounds is pretty light, especially when you include your equipment. So for example, I'm 120 pounds. My Lyra is about 12 to 13 pounds plus my equipment. That's an extra 15 pounds. So I'm at about 135 pounds for me and my equipment that's hanging from the rig. That does fall under the 155 pound working weight limit, so that's great. There are other things to think about there, like highly dynamic movements, which can double, triple, quadruple, etc. the force that you're putting on the apparatus. And that's why small drops are not recommended on the apparatus, or swinging, which can distribute the load in a way that the rig is not made to handle. So how it compares to the X-Pole rig, there are a few differences, but the rigs are very similar. They both have the same minimum braking strength of 1,550 pounds. The cost is a little different. The Uplift Active rig is $700 if you don't include the bags, whereas the X-Pole rig is $599, so there's about a $100 difference between the rigs, and that is before shipping. I believe they are both around $100 to ship, at least from what I've seen. Weight-wise, the Uplift Active rig is 66 pounds and the X-Pole rig is 72. For material, I think they both have a stainless steel top bar. I know the Uplift Active rig one does. The X-Pole rig website does not list very many statistics about the rig, so it's hard to tell. Their instruction manual is available online, which is where I'm getting most of this information from, as it has a lot more info. So while the top bars, I believe, are both stainless steel, the legs for the Uplift Active rig are a magnesium alloy, whereas the X-Pole rig's legs are made of aluminum. And you can kind of see that in the way they look. The X-Pole leg rigs are matte and the Uplift Active rigs ones are shiny. Another difference is that the Uplift Active rig includes the top bar connectors, whereas the X-Pole one does not. If you live in a few countries, you can buy the connectors separately, but not in the United States. The X-Pole rig does come with sandbags, and the cost does include the bags, so you don't have to pay an extra $20 for the carrying bag. I have not felt like I've needed sandbags for my rig. I feel like it's pretty stable. The Uplift Active rig can be adjusted at 3 to 5 inch increments. The third layer of leg, there are 3 holes that are 3 inches apart, and the lower legs have holes that are 5 inches apart. I know there are at least 5, there might be 6. I couldn't verify this by looking at the X-Pole site or the instruction manual for the X-Pole rig. I believe the height is adjusted at 6 inch increments, which is one of the reasons why I went with the Uplift Active rig instead of the X-Pole rig, because I have 10-foot ceilings and I wanted to make sure that I could get it as close to the ceiling as possible. One of the biggest differences between the rigs is the community reputation. X-Pole has a long history of supplying quality products to aerialists, whereas Uplift Active has a history in aerial yoga, which is similar but different than aerial, and it has been getting a lot of pushback for greater safety recommendations from the aerial community. I believe they have been making some adjustments, but in the last couple of years they have also been giving questionable safety advice to some aerial students who have asked. So that is something to keep in mind when you're deciding which rig to buy. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I did end up ordering a Ludwig rig. It's obviously not here yet. There's a back order, but I did decide to go with a more expensive rig, and it is about double the cost. maybe more than double the cost of these rigs, and it is made of stainless steel, so it's also heavier. I believe the Ludwig rigs are 130 pounds, so definitely not as portable, but they do support more dynamic movements, and I found that with a 10-foot ceiling, I do have the space to do more dynamic movements. Some of the things that I want to work on at home are my rolls, so monkey rolls, mill rolls, all of those things that you don't get a lot of time to practice in class. So my recommendation to you is, if you have enough space to be doing dynamic movements, to save up and invest in a more expensive rig rather than getting one of the cheaper ones that is going to limit the movements you can do on it. If you only have 8-foot ceilings, the type of rig you get is probably not going to matter because you're going to be limited in your movements. However, if you want to be able to take it outside and do more outside, then again, I would recommend just saving up for a more expensive rig. Alright, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I can't answer any rigging questions or any safety questions. Like I said, you'll have to check that out in the aerial safety group on Facebook. But if you have anything about this rig that I can answer, I'd be happy to do that. I use it in all the rest of my videos, so feel free to check those out as well. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you are interested in more videos about aerial dance, please hit that subscribe button. Alright, thanks for watching.